good day and salam sejahtera. Welcome to our podcast Kita Family. Podcast ini membincangkan perkara-perkara berkaitan tentang inclusion and diversity in raising families as part of a larger community. And this podcast is usually hosted by 5 moms. And today I have with me Nori.
Assalamualaikum.
Didi all the way from Kota Kinabalu in Sabah.
Hai, Didi di sini. Hello dari Sabah.
The lovely Dr. Choi.
Did you just call me Dr. Choi?
Sorry. Hi SK. Thanks for being here.
Apa khabar semua? Hello.
Malangnya seorang lagi sahabat kami, Anit, tidak dapat bersama-sama kami pada hari ini. We miss you very much, Anit. Today, our topic is about sharing stories, interesting stories related to diversity and inclusion, growing up in Malaysia, a very Malaysian community, and how it relates to community building. So, let's get our conversation started today. Maybe we can start with Nori. Why don't you tell us a story about inclusion and diversity that you experienced being part of beautiful Malaysia?
Okay. Terima kasih, Desiree. Kalau nak fikirkan, nak fikirkan cerita tentang pengalaman saya sebagai, seorang yang membesar di Kuala Lumpur, di Malaysia, I would say there's a lot of stories to tell about why, diversity, inclusion, living in community ni memang sesuatu yang begitu berharga and it was very, very meaningful to me. Now, my family life, when I grew up in my family dengan my parents, kita memang, like for me, that textbook story, which is the Ali, Ramu, Akau, Ranjit, that sort of thing, I could relate to it. So, bagi saya, bila saya tengok buku teks tu, sungguh pun kadang-kadang kita pun macam, okay lah, pandang sinis, like, betul-betul ke kita ni muhibah, masyarakat yang majmuk dan sebenarnya. Tapi, sebenarnya, sedikit sebanyak tu, itu membayangkan hidup saya, membesar dalam keluarga saya, mak bapak saya, dan saya cuma mempunyai seorang abang, so small family. Tapi memang daripada kecil, ramai di antara sahabat, rakan, keluarga, sama ada belah baba atau belah mama, kita mempunyai ramai kenalan yang terdiri daripada kawan-kawan yang berbangsa lain ataupun agama yang lain, dan bagi saya ini adalah sesuatu hakikat lazim seorang yang duduk dan membesar di Malaysia. So, kalau saya nak fikirkan tentang satu cerita utama, apa ya? Mungkin saya boleh menceritakan satu kisah di dalam bulan Ramadan. So, masa bulan Ramadan tu, of course, umat Islam, saya seorang Muslim, daripada keluarga Muslim, kita akan berpuasa. So, bila berpuasa tu, memang ada waktu untuk kita makan dan waktu kita tak boleh makan. Masa tu saya masih bersekolah lagi. Dan zaman sekolah menengah. Ada seorang kawan saya, kita masa tu ada projek matematik tak silap. Ada homework. Dia pandai matematik, saya tak berapa pandai dengan matematik. So, memang saya mengharapkan untuk dia membantu saya lah. So, dia ajak pergi ke rumah dia untuk kita habiskanlah homework pada masa tu, dan lepas tu dia kata dia jemputlah sekali makan di rumah dia ni dari sekolah. So at that time bagi tahulah pada mak saya pun, dia kata saya nak pergi rumah kawan saya, and mak saya pun kata okey. Tak tahu macam mana dan atas sebab apa kita sebenarnya tak menyebut sangat pun bahawa sebenarnya ni bulan Ramadan. Saya pun tak teringat nak sebut pada kawan saya. Kawan saya ni seorang Katolik. Tak fikir pada masa tu, bukan bermakna saya tak berpuasa dan tak nak menunggu waktu untuk semayang dan berbuka puasa and things like that. But tak terlintas nak cakap about that. Tapi bila saya dah sampai kat rumah dia, sebenarnya dia sendiri yang sebut and say, don't worry, can you remind me what time you buka puasa? Because we'll eat dinner together at your buka puasa time. And I thought that was like really nice. And, Alhamdulillah, it was amazing. It's not me that was asking her and going, actually I puasa lah. What am I going to do? And starting to feel uncomfortable or whatever. But it was just not there. It was not something I even had to think about. Tak perlu saya nak risau tentang benda-benda macam tu. And then bila dah jumpa dengan mak dia pun kata, oh Nori, it's okay, we bought something differently, this is halal chicken and all that. Dia yang macam mengambil berat. She was considerate to to do that for me. And that to me was, is in fact, well, I hope it remains the beauty of being Malaysian. Kita memang hidup di dalam satu keadaan mana kita sebenarnya dikelilingi orang yang sebenarnya tak sama agama, kaum, kepercayaan dengan kita, tetapi kita saling memahami, kita mengenali, dan bila kita mengenali, dan bolehlah kita hidup sama macam ni, dan kita mengambil berat tentang satu sama lain. And this is what we do. I know, like in my house, naturally, kalau kita menjemput rakan-rakan untuk datang, ada antara rakan kami yang beragama Hindu, dan kita tahu sebagai contoh jenis orang yang tidak memakan daging lembu, tak perlu dia nak menyebut pada kita. Kita memang tak akan masak lah benda tu. And it was almost sort of understood, which I think was very nice. So that was one of my many stories, I think. I would love to hear your stories, ladies.
Absolutely, that's such a beautiful story and beautiful sharing. Saya rasa, kami sebagai anak Malaysia memang banyak cerita-cerita macam ni, kan? And for me personally, saya pun from a mixed family, very very mixed family, iaitu not only in terms of race but religion as well, right? So ayah saya berketurunan Punjabi dari India Utara, whereas my mum is Portuguese Belanda dari Melaka, so dari kaum Serani. So very very majmuk family. And I like that Nori ceritakan pasal bulan Ramadan. I too have a similar story. Bila I was a teenager, one of our family friend yang berketurunan, they are also a bit mixed. The father berketurunan Arab, so he's a Said, and the mom is Mama, Indian Muslim, and very close family friend of my parents. So obviously children pun grew up bersama-sama. Dan masa cuti sekolah, saya pergi bercuti dekat rumah mereka, and so happen it was bulan puasa, right? And so pagi-pagi bila mereka bangun untuk sahur, I pun bangun sama-sama. I didn't need to be told, I didn't need to be asked. I just thought, okay, why not? And then bila keluar bersama kawan saya, their daughter, kita keluar pergi KLCC and all that. So dia berpuasa, saya pun berpuasa sama-sama. And I didn't even feel hungry for the day, sebab we were occupied doing other things, and then bila balik rumah sama-sama kita berbuka puasa. And it's like what Nori brought up as well, because they understand that I'm from a mixed religion in a home, and naturally I don't eat beef. So bila berbuka puasa, their meals, it was mainly chicken or lamb and all that. So I think we have many of these stories that I think as Malaysians, it just comes very naturally to us, right?
Desiree, boleh tak saya tanya something?
Boleh.
Okay. Apa yang membuatkan Desiree rasa selesa untuk mengikut amalan agama yang lain sebenarnya? Walhal I think your friends, diorang pun memberi kelonggaran pada Desiree. Diorang pun faham Desiree boleh makan dan minum. And I think diorang tak paksa kan bangun sahur ni?
Tak paksa,
right? And then tak adalah kata so maybe can you share apa yang membuatkan Desiree rasa nak bersama-sama, atau is it something yang penting? What was it that was going on that made you do that?
It's a very interesting question. No one's asked me before, so thank you. I think, if I really look back at my childhood as well, sebab I grew up in a home of a multiracial, multi-religious home. My dad is Sikh, he never converted. My mum is Catholic, also never converted. They had to weddings, 3 weddings. We always joke they love each other so much they had to get married 3 times to each other, right? So it always came naturally, and on my birth certificate it says I'm Catholic. I am a practicing Catholic. I go to church, and now that I'm married to a Hindu. So as you can see, my family in itself, we are so rich in culture and religions that as a Catholic, I also go to the Hindu temple with my husband, right? And this is something I learned. This is learned behavior from childhood. So when it was Vasaki, as a family, we go to the Sikh temple. If it's Good Friday or Easter or Christmas, we go to church as a family. So for me, it isn't a thing that just because I'm Catholic, then I don't do this, I don't do that. For me, it just comes naturally. I think it's part of my upbringing. Growing up in my immediate home was so rich in culture and different religions, and don't even get me started on my extended family.
Okay. So mudah nak serasikan diri, and you
Memang
felt
mudah.
that it was just the thing to do lah. In that home, it was your home for a few days,
Yeah.
so just follow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't feel forced, bukan dipaksa, not at all. It just felt natural. And I knew I had the option that if I wanted to eat or drink throughout the day, I could. But somehow, because kan I keluar jalan-jalan with my friend, we went in KLCC, jalan sini, jalan sana, tak terasa lapar, tak terasa haus. So before we knew it, the day had passed and we went home and buka puasa bersama-sama.
I love that story.
Yeah. So, shall we go all the way to Sabah, perhaps? Our wonderful Didi, let's hear your story.
Thank you, Desiree. Itulah bila Desiree cakap when your background mixed parentage kan, it seems that masa kami kecil, saya kecil dulu kan, saya di sekolah rendah especially, kita masa tu tak ramai kawan Chinese sebab sekolah rendah kebangsaan tu sebelah sekolah Cina. So I guess semua Chinese kids pergi sekolah Cina sebelah tu, dan ada di sekolah saya di Selayang ada beberapa kawan-kawan India sebab sekolah SJKT tu jauh daripada Selayang, di Batu Cave. Jadi mungkin ada yang tak nak pergi sana kan, tak kisah nak masuk SRK masa tu kan, SRK. Jadi kita ada beberapa orang kawan India lah. So bila hari raya, selalu tiap-tiap kali raya kan, sebab tadi Nori dengan Desiree cerita pasal bulan puasa, so saya nak cerita pasal raya pula. Kita akan ada macam rombongan tak rasmi daripada satu kelas tau. Pergi daripada satu rumah ke satu rumah untuk sambut raya. Selalunya seminggu atau 2 minggu lepas hari raya pertama lah. Weekend kedua, pertama atau kedua, kita akan round. Jadi, hari raya of course akan ada lah kawan-kawan India yang join juga. And then bila Deepavali, kita memang memory yang paling ingat sekali, kita semua pergi satu rumah kawan ni. Menariknya kawan ni dia kacukan India dan Cina. Jadi kita akan nampak keterbukaan dia. Ayahnya India, ibunya Chinese lady. So, memang perayaan tu sangat terbuka untuk kami semua datang. Of course masakan semua halal. Tapi sangat interesting sebab ayahnya India kan, ibunya Cina, ayahnya tukang masak professionnya. Tapi yang masak ibunya yang Chinese, tapi masakan India. So sangat macam interesting lah, and then memang betul-betul kita punya rutin daripada sekolah rendah sampai sekolah menengah pun memang tak sabarlah nak tunggu raya Deepavali untuk kita macam betul-betul celebrate, kenal dengan keluarga juga. So bukan setakat kawan dalam kelas je. Ya, so memang nampak kat sini macam kita kan masa kanak-kanak tu kita tak ada membeza-bezakan, awak agama lain, bangsa lain. Kalau kita ada dalam kat satu sekolah kelas yang sama, memang kita belajar budaya masyarakat yang berlainan, walaupun macam yalah, saya Muslim, mereka Buddhis ataupun Hindu, tak ada masalah. So itu antara yang kita punya itulah kan kita family kan. So kita bukan setakat kawan, memang kita dah jadi macam family, and in fact kita punya circle tu sampai sekarang pun ada lagi. Kan sebab ada WhatsApp kan, so kita masih lagi masih lagi berhubung, masih lagi kita from time to time kita ingat balik memory kita masa sekolah dulu. So macam tak ada beza lah. Kita dah biasa dengan diversity ni. Dia tak ada macam, oh nak kawan dengan Melayu je, nak kawan dengan Muslim je. So Alhamdulillah, I think kat situ kita nampak lah kehidupan kita kat Malaysia ni sangat very muhibah, harmoni. And then sekarang dah 2 minggu saya kat KK. So tak ramai kawan lagi, tapi akan jumpa lebih ramai daripada pelbagai kaum lah, insya-Allah. So of course I think later I will have more stories to tell.
Nice.
Thank you, Didi. It's a beautiful story. Of course, raya kan, all the rayas from all our different cultures. That's a very Malaysian thing to have macam open house or rumah terbuka kan. And I have many of such stories. Tetapi I would like to go over to SK now for her story.
Thank you. I feel like revisiting. It's so nice to hear all the cerita-cerita when we were children, and it is so interesting. If I want to share that in parallel, saya ingat semasa saya masuk sekolah rendah kebangsaan, Jalan Selangor, and rombongan, the word that Didi gunakan tu, saya ingat masa raya, masa Tahun Baru Cina, Deepavali, memang kami rombongan pergi dari rumah ke rumah in every different festival. So now that I reflect back, the natural diversity we have as rakyat Malaysia, we are so fortunate. And if I take that a little bit further in the memory of growing up, then I went to Sekolah Menengah Asunta. And of course, Asunta is the famous and very well beloved Sister Enda that time until today. She is in her 90s. But we love the school and we love Sister Enda as a figurehead. And the diversity that we experience even as murid-murid dalam sekolah is the assembly. And I, at that time, my family is Buddhist by original faith. But Asunta, of course, is sekolah Catholic. And we all grew up with respect. Masa assembly, we will just, the ones who are not Catholic or Christians, if you like, we just, either, for me, we said the blessing prayer. But the rest of us just stand in respect. And we are such good friends because we are friends. So that, for me, is the memory that is imprinted of growing up in a very diverse country. And I bangga bila saya ceritakan when I'm overseas. I memang bangga dapat give contoh yang I live lah, the live experience. Malaysia is such a rich and diverse nation that it is anchored on authentic friendships, like all the different contohs we've heard from our own inner. I think as a child, you just want to be respectful of your friend. Maybe you don't even use the word respect. I don't think the word respect as a child is even there. We just want to be
Friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Kami kesemua kaum bangsa, even in our rukun negara, perhaps the rukun negara helped me to have a picture that this is Malaysia. And these are fond memories that even until today, I dapat berceritakan anak-anak saya. Earlier, we had a chit-chat and I ceritakan now in, I suppose, the next generation for my children. Anak-anak saya semua masuk kindergarten Montessori. So, kami bercerita dengan anak-anak dua. Kami anak Malaysia. Kalau you bertemu kawan-kawan yang baru dari luar negara, dia kata saya orang Jerman, macam mana nak bilang what do you say kan? So in Malaysia we say selamat datang or salam sejahtera and all the selamat pagi. So that is us as Malaysian. So I say to my children, kalau kami bangsa Malaysia tak bertutur bahasa Malaysia, how do we say we are anak Malaysia?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
On
Thank
that
you.
note, kita rehat sebentar.
Yes, please. Hai, selamat kembali ke podcast Kita Family. Sebentar tadi kami telah mendengar cerita-cerita masing-masing dari Nori, Didi, SK dan saya juga. What unique stories kan? And I personally feel that this is something so unique to Malaysia because to quote Nori, it's really part of our DNA in Malaysia. We are a melting pot of culture and diversity kan. And so perhaps some of you may be asking kenapa kita cerita pasal benda-benda ni kan. Right, so what's our objective talking about telling these stories. And saya rasa it goes back to sifat kemasyarakatan or building communities, right? So let's go to Kota Kinabalu and get Didi's thoughts on community building and how it relates to the story that she just told us.
Okay, tadi kita banyak cerita tentang pengalaman kita semasa kita kanak-kanak kan. Dan Nori ada cakap tentang tak kenal maka tak cinta. Dan cuba kita bandingkan kita punya curiosity masa kita kanak-kanak dan masa kita dah dewasa sekarang. Masa kita kanak-kanak, kita tak fikir pun yang kita curious. Kita belajar tentang budaya kawan-kawan kita secara automatik. Kita tak ada macam, hari ni saya nak belajar lah tentang budaya kawan saya tu. Tak ada. Kita belajar melalui permatian tanpa kita sedar. Jadi kacamata kanak-kanak ni yang kita perlu ada sampailah kita dewasa. Kita jangan ada filter yang membuatkan kita macam, awak ni berbeza. Bila berbeza, susahlah nak cari orang yang sama je. Orang yang mempunyai minat yang sama. Sebab memang secara semula jadi, kita mudah berkawan dengan orang yang mempunyai minat yang sama dengan kita, betul tak? Jadi, kalau kita ada curiosity, kita masih menggunakan kanta kanak-kanak tu, kita akan lebih mudah untuk menerima perbezaan antara sesama kita. Sebab of course, bila kita dah semakin dewasa, kita mempunyai kejayaan lain, kehidupan yang lain, banyak perbezaan antara satu sama lain. Jadi kalau kita terus dengan kanta yang kita ada masa kita kanak-kanak tu, kita belajar, walaupun mungkin kali ni kita perlu secara conscious effort lah. Maksudnya kita perlu rather than macam kita automatic, tapi kita perlu kita macam nak cakap kita perlu belajar secara kita sedar. Conscious effort kan, kita nak, saya nak tahu lebih lanjut macam mana budaya masyarakat lain. Kalau kita Melayu, Islam macam mana, Cina macam mana, India macam mana, dan saya sekarang ni dekat Sabah, of course lagi banyak lah saya perlu belajar kan untuk mengenali budaya tempatan. Jadi banyak benda yang kita tak boleh take for granted, yang kita rasa macam kalau kita tahu, tahulah, tak tahu nak buat macam mana. Tak boleh macam tu. Kita kena belajar untuk memahami budaya, memahami norma-norma tempatan, dan of course kita bukan setakat belajar tentang Malaysia, kita nak belajar untuk antarabangsa juga, sebab ada masa mungkin keperluan kerja, keperluan dalam mengajar anak-anak pun, anak-anak bila kita mengajar sebagai ibu kan, kita mengajar anak, kita perlu ada lens yang lokal dan international. Jadi kenapa penting untuk saya especially bila kita cakap tentang menerima mereka yang berbeza, sebab saya sendiri mempunyai 2 orang anak autistik. Jadi of course bila kita cakap autistic is neurodivergent kan, mempunyai neuro yang lain, cara berfikir yang lain, mungkin tingkah laku yang berbeza. Jadi saya nak masyarakat boleh menerima, embrace kan kelainan. Tak ada macam, kalau nampak lain je, kenapa macam ni, tak sukalah, tak patut budak ni macam ni. Kita nak masyarakat mempelajari, mengambil tahu kalau autism tu macam mana pada anak-anak macam mana, bila dah dewasa macam mana. Jadi macam dengan ada pemahaman tu, harapannya akan meningkatkan penerimaan. Bila meningkatnya penerimaan, harapannya meningkatnya sokongan daripada masyarakat. Sebab kan kita selalu dengar, it takes a village to raise our children. Jadi saya nak macam masyarakat boleh mula untuk belajar juga. Bukan sekadar kita yang datang daripada pelbagai kaum, tapi berbagai background, berbagai cara berfikir. Yang tu yang saya rasa macam betul lah, kita kat Malaysia kita dah biasa hidup dengan pelbagai bangsa. Tapi kali ni kepelbagaian neuro pun kita perlu embrace, kita perlu terima juga. Itu pendapat saya lah.
Terima kasih Didi. I love the phrase of tak kenal maka tak cinta, right? It's so true. I mean, it can't be more true. Tak kenal maka tak cinta. It cuts across everything. And when we talk about inclusion means semua orang, tak kira bangsa, agama, and also keupayaan, right? You brought up your 2 autistic daughters as well. So maybe kalau saya boleh tanya satu soalan kepada Didi, what are some of the values you hope to instill in your 2 daughters when it comes to inclusion and diversity being in Malaysia?
It's okay to be different. Sebab di Malaysia sendiri kita dah nampak dari segi bangsa, agama, penggunaan bahasa ibunda pun memang ada pelbagai beza kan. Jadi of course being autistic is already being different than other people, but it's okay. But it's just that kita nak promote pada orang lain juga untuk menerima anak-anak kita yang dah sedia terima mereka berbeza. Because it's one thing that you know yourself, but it's another thing for other people kan untuk terima. Jadi itulah kita nak saya nak instill pada both of my daughters lah.
That's great. And it also ties back to what you said tadi kan, it takes a village. And it's not just about one person, it's about community, right? Community accepting differences. So now let's head over to Nori to let us know what the significance of her stories were and her thoughts on community building.
So I think it's simple. Kalau kita anggap bahawa hidup bermasyarakat, maknanya bukan hidup berseorangan, adalah sesuatu yang penting dan amat perlu, maknanya kita perlu mengenali sesama kita dulu. Because hakikatnya di Malaysia, sungguh pun mungkin kampung halaman kita, tempat duduk kita, our neighborhood, mungkin kita telah memilih ataupun because of our parents and all that, maybe tempat yang kita duduk pun di sekeliling kita, maybe orang yang sama kaum, agama and all that, but as was mentioned, you will grow up, you will enter a different world, you will go out to work ke, atau mungkin lepas tu satu kehidupan yang berbeza. Dan memang di Malaysia ni kita akan berinteraksi dengan orang yang lain. Dan kita tak akan kekal duduk di tempat yang sama. Itu kita tahu sebagai satu hakikat juga di Malaysia. Sebagai contoh, orang di kampung pun sekarang dah pindah ke bandar. So that is a trend that we know, that we can see. So kita tidak akan lepas daripada berjumpa dengan orang yang tidak sama dengan kita. So kita kena saling mengenali. And I believe that in many different faiths or beliefs pun, ada suatu pengajaran bahawa kita harus saling mengenali. Kalau saya sebagai orang Muslim, memang ada diajar dalam kepercayaan, penganutan saya bahawa kita memang dijadikan berbeza-beza and kita harus saling mengenali. We're supposed to know each other. Right? So if you don't know each other first, and that's why I mentioned in the break about tak kenal maka tak cinta, is that how are you going to start to live together? How are you going to work together? Ask each other for help. Like we're thinking about, dulu-dulu masa tu saya belum sekolah lagi, masa tadika, tempat kita duduk tu, kira our neighborhood, jalan jiran kita semua saling mengenali. So it was quite safe. I can run out of my house And I will just go to another neighbour's house and then I'll come back and say, you know, that I dekat rumah auntie so and so, you know, things like that. And then diorang pun tahu kalau tiba-tiba I tak dekat rumah, kena call lah cari, Nori ni pergi mana? That I'm probably at, you know, Auntie Anna's house down the road or something like that, right? But now, kita kerap mendengar cerita atau kisah di mana, oh, saya tak berani nak biar anak saya keluar, you know, just pergi bermain dengan siapa-siapa, keluar daripada rumah and all this. It's not considered safe anymore, which I think is a little bit sad, when that's not really living in community, right? And then of course for all of us, I'm glad Didi dah menyebut, memang kami semua mempunyai anak yang memerlukan penerimaan dan sokongan yang lebih sedikit, because we all have you know, the 5 of us who are part of kita family. Of course, apa sebab kita datang, you know, bersama-sama dan telah menjadi atau mewujudkan satu persahabatan yang erat dan baik, kerana one of the things we have in common is antara anak-anak kita adalah anak yang, well, you choose your istilah, kurang upaya, kelainan keupayaan. We're talking about being neurodivergent, autistic. I have an autistic son, and of course same as Didi, I want my, you know, children to be accepted. But I think kita pun kena konsisten. Kita tak boleh kata kita nak menerima dan hidup dalam masyarakat atas satu dasar di mana kita nak anak kita je diterima, tapi kita tak boleh terima orang lain. That's, you know, that doesn't make sense, right? So you want to live in community, I think, you know, you want to be together, we have to know each other. Memang kita perlu saling mengenali, dan that's when kita boleh, you know, mengambil kisah with each other. Dan kalau kita nak, you know, like for example, Didi nak sebut tentang what values kita nak ajar pada anak kita. Ya, memang saya pun nak ajar pada anak saya that it's okay to be different. Memanglah kita pun different in so many ways, kan? But life will be a little bit easier for them lah kalau kita fikirkan macam tu. That the fact that anak kita yang OKU ni is wiring pada minda dan otak dia dah memang macam tu. Itulah fitrah dia sebagai seorang insan, dah dijadikan macam tu, right? So I think the most important point is bila kita saling mengenali, actually we will know that there is more things that we have in common. Sebenarnya kita ada ciri-ciri kemanusiaan yang sejagat, it's universal. We are definitely more similar to each other than different. But if you want to focus on being different, it's easy. That's too easy, of course. Just sitting here looking at each other, you know. Even like antara yang kita yang berlima ni pun, the 2 Muslims don't look like each other, right? For example. But so you can focus on the difference. But the whole point is, I think we want to remember that there is more things that we have in common. You know, we all love our children. We all want a good future for them. We want a life that's safe. And, you know, we're human. We're a person. We're all girls. Maybe one day we hope to have a father along with our team. But for the moment, as parents, we are mothers who are here as parent advocates. Kita di sini untuk memperjuangkan dan membela nilai yang menerima semua segala lapisan masyarakat. Tidak meninggalkan siapa-siapa. We want to embrace inclusion and diversity. You know, and that's why we're here. So that's why we're sharing these stories, and we hope that other people who hear these stories will have these stories too. And if you don't have them, maybe you want to make your own story.
Absolutely. What a fantastic way to end that part. Make your own story, right? Yeah. And stories are so important because it touches on emotions, and people tend to remember more when it is emotional. It tends to and when you touch on emotions, it leads to action, and that's what we want, kan? Unity in diversity. That term keeps coming to me as we discuss today's topic.
So Malaysian, kan? Unity in diversity.
Betul. Yeah. I mean, we are so different in so many ways, but like what Nori said, if we just focus on the sameness, benda-benda yang we have in common.
Yes, that's how we get to the unity part.
Exactly. Right? It may be more difficult to do, but whose life isn't challenging, right? So let's add this one more layer, right, of focusing on the sameness.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Absolutely. So, SK, share with us your thoughts on community building and how it relates to the story you told us just now.
So I love the title of our session, our podcast, Kita Family. As I listened to Nori, Didi, and earlier on, the community. So if I was thinking, apa maknanya community ni? Sebenarnya, community builds the safety. Kan?
Safety.
The fundamental cerita untuk community it's not a cerita. Actually, it's a fact. And Malaysia, we have sekampung, right?
Yeah.
And we hear this word tribe. Actually, Malaysia has had tribes in our kaum-kaum bangsa-bangsa.
Memang wujud.
Memang sudah wujud.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, community is safety. Community is when you dalam kesusahan, you can ask for help. And community to me is basically friendship, but deeper than friendship is actually relationship. Yeah. The safe relationship that kami boleh meluahkan kesusahan tanpa judgement. Yeah. And as a parent, the value system that we would like to gift to my children and my family members, my friends, is that I am available for you. Yeah, masa kesusahan, I'm available. So the word community for us then, when we translate to the neurodiverse community, in our family, we have a neurodivergent individual, and as a neurodivergent family, the richness of us learning about the importance of community is amazing. Let me give you a story. Anak-anak kami very fortunate dapat masuk sekolah inklusif dari Taska. Dan sekarang dua anak-anak ni satu sudah masuk A level, yang satu akan ambil O level. Dan dalam keseluruh masa pembelajaran kami di sekolah, dia dalam sekolah inklusif. Dalam sekolah inklusif ini ada anak-anak yang dia punya support level mild, tapi juga ada murid-murid dan kawan-kawan anak saya memang perlu level support yang agak tinggi. Satu hari, masa tu anak saya kata, "Mama, ada dua kawan ni." So let me cycle back. I ask anak besar saya, Aaron, macam mana kawan-kawan dua ni baru transit sekolah lokasi baru, dari lokasi yang dulunya masuk lokasi yang baru. So ada transition change.
Dua adik-beradik ke?
Dua adik-beradiknya.
Okay.
Kedua-dua anak ni anak autisma. Okay. Dan saya tanyakan, Aaron, macam mana kawan-kawan ni dua? Okey ke?
Masuk sekolah baru and everything.
Kerana masa transisi. It was so wise, the answer. Aaron said, "Mama, they are fine in the school. But I'm not sure if when they move away from the school, will there other people, will they do fine?" Now, that for me is an understanding of a safe community. Even our children could recognise kalau ada community yang memeluk perbezaan, because they have learnt it dalam sekolah inklusif ini. Oftentimes we selalu nak educate the community, the autistic individuals or their family. Sebenarnya the awareness needs and the understanding need to be from the other 80% of the rest of
Community.
the community,
Yeah.
so that we can become satu. The unity in difference is when the differences are understood, the awareness. So I am very excited that kita family is going to be able to share together bersama-sama. Kami mempelajari bersama-sama makna community for each one of every one of us. Maybe if I can just end to say, we are all individual. Fingerprint kami semua tak sama.
Yep.
Tapi kami semua warga negara Malaysia. And we are family in diversity. Thank you.
Very beautiful. You know, I feel like bursting into song, and like I want to sing Saya Anak Malaysia because
I would sing.
love that song. Yeah, and it's so very nicely encapsulates who we are as a country, as a nation, kan, and community. And I just want to touch on tadi Nori kata in her faith, right? Community is part of the Muslim faith, and memang konsep community ini kalau kita lihat dari semua agama, memang dalam semua agama ada konsep community. Whether you're Christian,
Oh, love thy neighbor.
right?
Yes.
Love thy neighbor, right? Even in the Sikh faith, you see a lot of community activities, even within the Buddhist and the Hindu communities. You know, so it's already part of anyone who has a faith,
Yes.
right? And the fact that all these different faiths now, we coexist in one nation and we are still able to build that community. I think that's so beautiful, right? And as Nori always says, Malaysia, the melting pot of diversity, culture, and when we talk about
the DNA thing.
neurodiversity, that's just the next level.
Yeah,
the
the
next
DNA.
level of diversity that we can. And I think, you know, I want to be optimistic. In Malaysia, memang kita dah ada awareness, kesedaran tentang neurodiversity dan kepelbagaian neuro as we sometimes
starting.
call
It's
it.
better now.
It's better now compared to maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago. For me personally, my journey in this world of neurodiversity is only about 6 to 7 years old. I have an autistic son myself, and like Nori, the value I want to teach my son is it's okay to be different.
Oh, Didi.
All of
Didi
us.
said that.
Sorry,
All of us.
I met Didi, but I said Nori, right? But yes, Didi said the value that we want to teach our kids that it's okay to be different. And for me personally, sebab that saya dah ceritakan tadi, my family memang is a melting pot of all cultures, religions and faith, right? So I grew up embracing being different. So for me, having a child that's different memang tak susah untuk family saya. I mean, saya dengar banyak cerita di mana families yang ada anak autistik atau anak kelainan upaya memang susah untuk family terima. Dari segi tu memang I'm very blessed. My family memang terima. There was no issue with denial and all that. Kita terima sebab we were already diverse in the first place.
Yeah.
Kan? Tetapi the thing that I hope to do as a mother, as a member of this community, is to maybe educate more of our community so that, and then going back to SK's story of how will the child function or be able to live outside the school. Right? In school, you go to an inclusive school, semua support ada. Right? To help them learn, to help them get their meal, to go home. Tetapi one day in the future, we won't be here. Kan? The parents won't be here. So with more community building, more community understanding, hopefully our kids will live together in their own little kita family, right?
Yeah.
with each other.
I think we also need to recognise tadi bila SK pun ceritakan tentang pengalaman anak-anak di sekolah, dia memang dia menceritakan tu dengan menyebut dengan cara bersyukur bahawa anak dia dapat pergi ke sekolah inklusif, because antara ni kita pun sekarang ni duduk di satu tempat yang sangat selesa dan sebenarnya adalah satu privilege.
Yes. It's an
And
honor.
but why are we also here? Because we know that the majority of anak-anak yang memerlukan tidak dapat masuk ke sekolah inklusif, dan sebenarnya sekolah inklusif belum wujud.
Betul?
Di Malaysia dengan secukupnya. Kita memang mempunyai sekolah pendidikan khas integrasi. We have integrated school, but what does integrated mean also? There's the side by side. So at least there's that,
Yes.
So in a way for that also alhamdulillah that Malaysia is at least adalah pada tahap tu ada satu pengiktirafan dan penerimaan, dan bahawa memang diperlukan. But I think if you speak to any family parent ke siapa, dia akan kata memang tak cukup. Dan memang apa-apa yang wujud dari segi hikmat and all that, of course di sekolah-sekolah seperti itu dan ataupun di sekolah swasta pun tak semestinya inklusif sebenarnya. So it's not even all. So it's true, at the moment we are coming from a place of syukur. But that's also part of, remember ladies, why we are doing, we decided we have to do this podcast,
Yes.
even though doing this is a bit scary, is that as we ask for things for our own children, I think we know that living in community means to ask for all of us.
Yes.
So one of you said, was it also our kakak that said, I would like you to know that I am here for you. And you have to do that. You have to also say, I'm here. Kita ada kat sini. Saya pun sanggup membantu. Perlu apa-apa, saya ada. Nak call saya, call lah. You know that kind of thing. Because kalau tidak, bila kita yang memerlukan, kita pula yang nak call somebody. Tak boleh lah. Kena two-way street lah kan.
Absolutely.
Takkanlah kita nak meminta aja, atau kita pun kata yang tolong I. Tapi kalau kita tak sanggup nak menolong juga, right? So that is also again that next level of lepas kita mengenali, right? And it's of course so much easier after that bila kita dah betul-betul mengenali lah. And that's why that whole recognizing the difference but also seeing apa yang ada dari segi persamaan tu is very important. Because kalau tidak, macam mana kita nak cari points of connection?
It's points of connection. I
Kan?
love that.
Point, points of connection. Macam mana? Titik pertemuan, persamaan, di mana kita boleh bersama-sama. There shouldn't be so many things yang memisahkan. I know that there can be things yang memisahkan, right? But we can unite around so many things as Malaysians. We can unite around food.
Yes.
We can unite around sports. These are just, ini antara
Fashion.
fashion. There you go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just some things lah. But there's a lot to do. But we'll keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Inshallah. God willing, in different episodes.
Yeah. I love that we unite kita family just like in our logo with our hearts.
Yes, the heart is important.
That is connected to
It's connected
our
to,
minds.
Yes, connected to our minds, and we wanted the colours which is kind of seperti jalur gemilang, kind of punya colour. Merah, biru, kuning, putih, all that ada juga a little bit. So I think we want to just try to be mindful of things, and we'll try. But
Yes, we will.
Yes, I don't know. Didi, does it look like you want to say something? I feel like there's something
Well,
going
I
on in
think-
KK. Cepat, ceritakan cerita. Join.
I think kita nak promote love, because definitely when we love someone, we do more for that person. So really hope that bila dah kenal kan neurodiverse community, so there'll be more understanding, more love. So insyaAllah there'll be more effort to include them in every part of life, insyaAllah.
Indeed.
Absolutely. More love. I think we need, and I think we should also acknowledge that in our community now and today, sebab most of us who are city bound, kan, living in the city, memang semua nak cepat, semua most of the time on the phone or on social media. So sometimes maybe let's take that time to pause, like what Didi said, love, right? And to just pause and to just love each other and build communities,
Yep.
right?
Power of pause.
Power
Next
of-
episode.
So with that, I think we are going to wrap up this episode for today. Thank you everyone for listening to Kita Family. Till we see you next time. Salam sejahtera.
Bye.